You're probably not even going to see this video because my algorithm is trash, but I just wanted to share some things that I've been sitting on. So I've been doing a lot of healing, like you do. Like after my dad died, what a bad, horrible, terrible time in my life. I can't even get into how bad it actually was, but basically I was not allowed to discuss anything that was going on in my life, and lawyers were monitoring my social media accounts constantly. So I wrote something called the fire joke, and it is a 10-minute joke about my first assault, because during 2021 and 2022 it occurred to me that was no longer the worst thing that somebody had done to me. So I was like, I could probably explore that as a topic. And like this whole joke, like as it is, this is my first time saying it into a microphone. Like a lot of stuff I had just written in, and I was like, if I can just say it once, then it's done. Because it's not the kind of joke you want to go out and break out all the time. It's pretty heavy stuff. So that said, trigger warning, sexual assault, and also just humor.
I shouldn't have said the word rape. The word rape makes people uncomfortable. I should have said fire. There was a campaign in the 90s. We're all aware of this, right? Give me a hell yeah if you know what I'm talking about. Most women were told that if you're in danger, you should say the word fire to trick somebody into maybe helping you. But we, as a people, are the most physically desensitized and emotionally sensitive we've ever been as a country. And so, like, studies have shown if the alarms went off right now, most of you guys would stay seated, which would be incredible for my ego, but that's not what you do to survive. So, like, the word fire doesn't even work anymore, so we have to come up with a new phrase, and I think I figured it out. It's titties. If you yell titties, somebody's gonna look. And they might see titties. They might be in distress, but they might see titties. The worst part about my fire was I went to Little Caesars after, because I did that to my body. Sorry, where'd you go after your fire? Panera? You think you're better than me because you had a bread bowl? Like, I went to Little Caesars, and the worst part of that story is they weren't actually open yet. So I went there the morning after it opened. I walked inside. I was like, hello, I would like a cheese pizza. Don't ask me about my day. And then the woman behind the counter goes, we don't open for 3 minutes. And I was like, but the door's open, and you're dressed to give me pizza, and I can see the pizza right there. Oh, my God, I hear it. You set a boundary. I'll wait 3 minutes. That's fine. No means no. That was the second thing in 24 hours that was hot but not ready. I feel weird because in my situation, the guy would have been held more responsible because he was like 2 years older than me. But I don't know why we expect men to understand nuance. Like, I have a grown man that I've been with for 5 years that when I say, I'm fine, he thinks I'm fine. Like, they're morons. I don't know why we think that men can be more responsible, especially when all the blood has left their brain. And I'm not justifying anybody's behavior, no means no, but also I'm not calling anybody an arsonist, but he was a kid playing with matches, you know what I mean? Like, we were drinking like cops who'd been kicked off the case. No one was at the wheel. Like, let me paint the picture. This guy had dog shampoo in his shower and nothing else, and he didn't have a dog. He's the one that we're like, you're in charge? He was playing toilet paper chicken with his roommates. Yeah, toilet paper chicken. Is anybody familiar? Yeah, okay, I hear the in the back. That's where men just decide that they're gonna wait to see which roommate buys toilet paper. And he told me that when I went over to his place, and I was like, so what's your plan if you have to take a shit? And he goes, we go down to the gas station. And I was like, where you then don't buy toilet paper? And he's like, yeah, I'm trying to win. I was like, have you met a man in their 20s? They're feral. Like, I don't know how most of you have made it this far. Like, men are just not adults until they're almost 40. Like, now that I'm 30, I'll go ahead and die on the hill that you can't love another person until you've had a bed frame. Let me rephrase, until you've bought yourself a bed frame. Like, I didn't get my life together until I made the New Year's resolution that I wasn't gonna date guys in their 30s that only had air mattresses anymore. So I couldn't come to Denton for a whole year. Like, being in your 20s is hard. Like, my early 20s was just a blur of what is clothing and what is napkins. Like, it's just a rough time to be alive. Is anybody in their 20s here tonight? Hell yeah. You don't sound super happy about it, so I'm guessing late 20s. I'm guessing you're here and it's past your bedtime already, but thanks for showing up. I will say this, it doesn't get better when you get into your 30s, but it does get clearer. So you're like, oh, well, that happened because of all the trauma. Makes sense. And then you just move on with your life, gathering more trauma. But you understand more. So, give yourself the time and space to grow into understanding yourself. But like men in their early 20s, it was worse than anything I had personally experienced. So like when I was in my early 20s, I was just kind of like, who am I? And just taking a lot of BuzzFeed quizzes. But like I had roommates who like when they moved out, we had to paint this guy's room because he'd drawn all over the walls in Sharpie. Like most regular, well-adjusted 29-year-old men. Like, I don't know if you've ever dodged a bullet you didn't know was shot at you, but we were just painting the walls like, what's phase 4? And then I had another roommate who is probably the worst roommate I've ever had, and we'll call him Jeff because that's his name and he knows what he did. We had to sit him down. It was me and my other roommate. We had to sit this man down because he would not stop putting empty pizza boxes in the oven. Just wouldn't stop doing it. Talk about asking for a fire. Like, he just would not stop. And so we came to the compromise that we're like, okay, we'll take the knob off the stove. That way we can't just turn it on. So that's what we'd come to the agreement of, right? And so then I'm having a mental breakdown one day, which is average. It's just kind of most days in your 20s. It's just kind of a fight to be alive. Thank you for being here and getting this far and coming to my show. That means a lot. But like, I was like, I'm gonna turn my life around today. And I feel like we all pick that one thing that is just like the symbol of the pinnacle of health for us. And for me, that was kale. I'd never bought kale before. It was like a magical weed. I was like, what does this do? And so I went home and I was like, I'm gonna make kale chips. And the whole drive back, I'm like, I'm gonna be a different person. I'm gonna pay my Zip Cash bill. I'm gonna call people back and return my text messages when I get them. I'm gonna be a new person. So I go home and I preheat the oven to make kale chips. And 2 minutes in, I realize there's a fire. There's just smoke filling the kitchen. And so I went over to the staircase and I yelled up, is anybody home? And so Darius came out and he was like, yeah, what's going on? And I was like, oh, there's a fire. And he's like, bitch, lead with that. That's not what you say when there's an emergency. And he's right. I should have said titties. Listen. I said, is anybody home? Because I'm not a firefighter. It was not my first instinct to be like, that's a fire, grab the extinguisher. It wasn't even my first instinct to run away from the fire. My instinct was to go, is that a fire? That can't be a fire. Fires don't happen to me. I've never had a fire before. I'm probably making it up. Really, I spent most of my life thinking, you don't call 911 for every fire. Like, sometimes you just think, I just want to put the fire on and move on with my life. Because really, what? Do I want to be surrounded by a bunch of men asking me questions like, well, what were you cooking? Have you cooked before? You turned the stove on. So